Hi, my name is Monis and this is Colored Commentary, hijacking your internet airwaves to incite media literacy, critical inquiry, and of course, mass hysteria. Today we're joined by accomplished novelist and journalist Imran Garda. Imran is currently working as a presenter and a producer for AJ Plus Labs, and he also recently released his debut novel, The Thunder That Roars. Imran has a bad habit of feeding the trolls on social media with his biting satire, so let's see if we can get these haters on Twitter to send him some more death threats. Imran, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Monis. What happened to your beard?
It went missing, man, and I'm still looking for it. So, but there was suspicion that I was harboring terrorists inside of my beard, so I'm not exactly upset that it's not here with me anymore. But Imran, a lot of people are drawing comparisons in your book between you and your protagonist, Yousef. Yousef is clearly an intelligent, accomplished journalist, but he's also kind of a douchebag. How much do you two have in common?
Yeah. Well, I'd hope it's more of the intelligent, accomplished journalist part and less of the douchebag part. But sure, I wrote him to be similar demographically to me. But in many ways, he's almost like an aggregate of most of the men I know, I've known in my life. I chip off little bits of friends, family, and strangers. He's better looking than I am, smoother with the women, and maybe more complex than I am. So yes, naturally, I expected people to be looking at parallels and wondering just how much of you is in Yousef. I would say, honestly, not much of me. But then again, I made him a South African journalist of, a South African Muslim journalist of Indian descent who was working in America. That's ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, obviously, you're going to make the comparison. So that's cool.
So, Imran, as you know as a journalist, sometimes the truth is lost on the cutting room floor in news journalism. Does fiction offer you other ways to express truth that journalism can't?
Yeah, it's been a liberation. I always wanted to write fiction. I wanted to write novels. I wrote some short stories at school. I wrote poetry badly for girls, unsuccessfully. I kind of stumbled into journalism very early on, like in my early 20s. So I think, hey, I don't have to list my sources afterwards, and I think fiction allows me the opportunity to explore themes and human psychology without having to delve into a very literalist, he said, she said, or staying completely bounded and boxed into the specific black and white text of a particular person. Because the thing with journalism is that no matter what, you have to try and report on something as truthfully as possible, and you need to extract what is there and not what you want to be there. And with fiction, you can explore more the sort of broader themes, the psychological aspects, the socioeconomic aspects, etc. And that's not to say that you don't do that and contextualize it with journalists, but it gives you more of an opportunity to allow people to travel through ideas, and I loved that. Still using a very kind of journalistic style as I wrote it. So
Imran,
sure, I love it.
Imran, when you're working as a journalist and you're speaking with people, you got a camera in their face, you got a voice recorder in their face. How is it different when you're researching for your book?
Wonderful. It's wonderful, and I got so used to for so many years going to places and almost trying to kind of squeeze out their story and then moving on. And I guess it's something that gave me a lot of guilt as well, because you go in, you get somebody's story and you move on. And maybe the book was a little bit of a confession in that respect. And while researching the book, it was so lovely to just go, not stick cameras in people's faces, not tell them, oh, I need you for this bite, I need you to provide this perspective, or we're looking at getting this from you. I could just go to a place like Bulawayo, Zimbabwe, or to Lampedusa, and I could just hang out and absorb and get the ambience and the atmosphere and get the vibe of people and be unthreatening in a kind of, because journalists kind of tend to be intrusive in that respect, especially on deadline, especially in the news. So that was lovely, and it was, it kind of reminded me of being 18 again and just crashing into people and learning and getting to know them. So for sure, major difference, because I think journalism, in so many ways, there is, if you don't do it right, there's an exploitative element to it, and not everybody does that. I mean, hey, look, journalism's not a crime,
Well, it depends on
not
who's doing
everybody
it.
does
Imran,
it,
I
but
want to ask you,
exactly,
your
yeah.
book, it very candidly shows the prejudices that journalists can harbor. Yousef struggles with racism, classism, elements of misogyny. Do you struggle with prejudice as a journalist?
I think the question is, do I struggle with prejudice as a human being? Yes, of course, and we all do. And we all shaped and molded by whatever context we came from, whatever environment we came from. And I think part of growing up and being a human being is to tackle these on and to sort of look them straight in the eye and to take a deep breath and to, as much as we like to throw mud at others out there and their biases and their prejudices, I think.
So Imran, are you volunteering? Are you volunteering to sit?
So for sure.
Imran, are you volunteering to sit in a booth so people can throw mud at you? Is that what you're saying? In order to equalize the role of journalists, is it okay for our viewers tonight to find you on the streets and throw some mud at you?
Sure.
Okay, good. I just wanted to get that clear.
As long as it's organic and gluten-free, because I'm in San Francisco.
And that's the only way to do it. Imran, I want to segue into your career as a journalist and some of the work that you've done. In 2011, you worked with Al Jazeera English on a series called Correspondent, where you went to India with the Adivasi Tribe. And they spoke to you about clashes that they were having with state authorities. Can we play the clip from the documentary?
Sure.
लथियाते लथियाते ले देख लगल हमरे घुराए दो अब के काले और हमें के ठाके के लगल ऐसे ठाई ठाई के ले जला हार मरनाती मंदिर दुई जन रहे इकर से एक ठो गोटे छोटका रहे वो डेट हो गेला हार कितना और नाती से ई नाती को आगे डेट हलक और वो पाछे में डेट हलक 10 दिन के भीतरे में एकदम डेट हो गेला
It's quite abundantly clear here that these people are immensely traumatized by the CRPF police.
Imran, since you produced this piece, it's clear that your circumstances in life have changed, but I'm not sure the same can be said for the Adivasi tribe. How do you reconcile the fact that as a journalist, you continue to garner success, but the people who you're telling your stories about, oftentimes their situation never changes?
Well, that's...
I'm not trying to call you out, Imran. I'm not trying to say it's your fault. I'm just saying
that's
trend in journalism.
No, I know that's really profound. I mean, and I think this is one of the reasons I write, and this is one of the reasons I wrote the book as I did, because there's a strong theme in that. I was having a friend Marcela Pizarro a few years ago, and we were discussing the issue of, it was mainly her thesis of how you have natural resources being plundered by from the third world by the first world, gold or oil or whatever, and somebody from the first world, so-called first world, goes and plunders it and then goes back to the first world for consumption there. Sometimes that happens with journalism as well, where a first world person, so-called, goes and plunders somebody's story from the third world and goes and it's for consumption of first world people, and things carry on in the third world. This is not the case all the time, but yeah, the Adivasis, I think, just in the making of the film itself, with the fixers, with the translators, with my co-producers, with the Indian filmmakers we worked with, they were far more integral to the production of that film than I was, but I was the face of it, so maybe I took more of the credit. So that's one angle. The other one is that, such is the nature of the story, and there are very few nowadays with the advent of social media, with the internet, I guess you can say there are very few sort of untold stories out there, but this is genuinely one of them, because even journalists with a history of covering South Asia, knew nothing about it. And, the Adivasis sort of caught between the Indian government and its paramilitaries, the CRPF, and the Maoists or the Naxalites calling for revolution in the jungles of central and eastern India. These people who are the Aboriginal Indians, if you like, caught between this, where the Maoists use their disenfranchisement and oppression to advance their own goals. The government crushes the Adivasis if they sense any support for the Maoists, and generally you just have these people, their lives and livelihoods are being destroyed. The Indian government signing these MOUs with corporations to steel and the like. So I think the thing about it, Monis, is that the film was an entry point, and if that was if that's what I could have achieved, where people finally just learnt about them so that they can then research further on, sure, I think it would have been a success. But undoubtedly, I'd love to go back.
As you stated, it seems like there aren't that many quote unquote untold stories left. But there is a difference between someone knowing something is happening and someone giving a fuck that something is happening. How do you get people to care?
And that's a difficult one. I mean, what is our role? I don't know what's our role. Is our role to change the world or to understand the world? I've never, been certain about that. But I think it's a start to give people informed material on something, which is what I think we did with that film, and which is what I hope I do with every bit of journalism I do, and even through the fiction, that I write. I hope it opens people's minds to ideas and things, and then they can, spin off and do their own thing. But ultimately, it's do people care? It depends on the individual and their level of compassion and empathy, and whether they feel they are part of this 7 billion strong living organism as humanity, or their own personal selfishness. But yeah, I think at the very least our job is to inform, to make people aware of what's going on in as truthful a way as possible, and the rest, I think you can't hold their hand through everything, can you?
Imran, you clearly have a lot of passion for your work. Is it hard for you to be impartial?
Sure, but I'm not sure what impartial means, because sometimes impartial is supposed to mean this side said, that side said, 50% airtime, 50% airtime, and I think these definitions are crumbling nowadays because they're issues of moral equivalence. David versus Goliath. Do you give Goliath the same amount of airtime as David? Who says this person's David and who says this person's Goliath? And I think we're going to have to deal with these things as we evolve media over the years and come up with better definitions, because subjective versus impartial and the like, these definitions are definitely not clear. And I've also seen a tremendous amount of hypocrisy with this over my career. I've seen, for example, journalists from countries like, say, Zimbabwe or from the occupied Palestinian territories being accused of being, say, either like pro-Mugabe, pro-Hamas, pro-Fatah, Changarai, etc. Therefore, an organization mistrusts their contribution as journalists. But on the other hand, I've worked with people who have been open, say, Labour Party supporters in Britain, right? But because they come from a tradition where the old white man is naturally objective, no matter what, that is never factored in when this person does their journalism. It's like, oh yeah, but that's their politics. Oh, we trust their journalism.
Wait, Imran, are you saying that cable TV networks in America like Fox News, MSNBC, and CNN are not impartial? Is this the radical claim that you're making? Are you making this radical? Am I hearing you correctly?
Fox News is a bastion of integrity and moderation.
Speaking of a bastion of integrity, you're working for a new network now. It's a new online arm of the Al Jazeera Media Network, AJ Plus Labs. This is very distinct from the work that you were doing for cable news operations like Al Jazeera English. I'm just wondering, what sort of opportunities does it offer you that you're particularly excited about?
It gives me an opportunity to have this direct, looking straight down the barrel of the camera, connection with people online for free, They don't have to buy a cable box, and they don't have to buy a big TV and watch our stuff, and they don't have to wait for a 9 o'clock news hour, and they don't have to say, they have to listen to, now next is the weather, and then some commercials, and then come back to us within these rigid structures of TV. So it gives us an opportunity to produce good direct content with the spirit of Al Jazeera, but throwing it out there so that people can watch it on YouTube, they can consume it on their mobile phones, they can watch it on Facebook, they can watch little clips on Twitter, and they can directly engage, where you don't have this distinction between social media, between consuming content, and between analyzing and sharing your opinion at the same time. So I guess it's just part of the natural evolution of media in general, and the direction in which everybody is going, removing and peeling off some of these more calcified layers of media that have built up over a TV news industry over the past few decades.
So you're online, and clearly, on Twitter, at Imran Garda, you're always sending out some biting satire, and sometimes it doesn't go over so well. I think we both know this. How does it feel when you get a death threat, Imran? Is it a comfortable experience? Like, because intellectually, they're over there, they're just a bunch of trolls, and, them threatening to sexually assault you in prison doesn't really mean a lot. In literal terms, but as a human being actually receiving this in your Twitter inbox, how does that make you feel?
I act really cool and strong about it, and just like,
but you cry at night. You cry to yourself.
It does affect you for sure. Well, I told you not to share that with them, Monis.
Well, you called me crying, so I thought that was on the record, but. We'll edit that one out.
I told the guy who threatened to, quote, butt rape me to death. I told him, I said, if you want to ask me out, I'm married with 3 kids, but if you want to ask me out, you just need to ask me out. You don't have to say that.
There are more polite ways to do it. It's the Tinder, man. It's the Tinder that are making the people like this.
Just soften me up a little bit,
Yeah, blame it on the Tinder, man. People are just cutting straight to the point. There is no pleasantries anymore. Chivalry is dead. Imran, you work for Al Jazeera. We all know that's owned by Qatar. Does the guy who signs your paychecks ever factor into your decision to cover a story or not?
I'm sorry, I can't hear the question, Monis.
Imran, it's indicating that my mic is on and that you can hear me completely well.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Imran, are you pulling an Anthony Weiner on me, bro? That's a dick move. Well,
if I was pulling an Anthony Weiner move on you, you wouldn't be looking at my face, Sorry, I can't hear you.
Wait, I just got a text message from you, Imran. I just got a text, and you pulled another Anthony Weiner on me. You're a terrible guy. Imran, I could shoot the shit with you all day, but that's all the time we got. Thanks so much for joining us. And for everyone here at Colored Commentary, we'd like to say, hands up, don't shoot. God bless America, and we'll see you next time.